Good morning. Thank you, early birds. Early bird catches the Kundalini power at your coccyx center. Instead of the worm, you get the Kundalini coiled snake at the base of your spine. And it's going to lift your energies up that spine today because this is the kind of the secret blessings that we get coming on the Gita. So many blessings, even if it isn't a secret. In God's mind, it's not a secret. It's the reality. It's the only way to go. And I have a little quote from Yogananda just to start us on the right track of what we're really up to. And it goes like this: that the Lord, I cannot live without you. You are the power behind my consciousness. I love you. Reveal yourself to me. God knows what's in my heart. It's the only way to catch God is by love. And then deeply pray, Lord, I cannot live without you. You are the power behind my consciousness. I love you. Reveal yourself to me. God knows. You know. Only God knows what's in my heart. God is my love. So I just wanted to share those words from Yogananda just for a starter this morning, my dears, because what if we broke down the Gita to just a simple, one simple idea, and that is only love can catch God's love. Only our love can catch the divine love, and vice versa. Only the divine love can catch God's love. So, um, anyway, good start, my dears. Let's just be in a loving mood. Let's just feel that loving presence because our time together is short. Not just in the stream, even though we're on the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Yogananda's second volume, God talks to Arjuna, but life is short. And we don't know. I mean, the body works, right? The body works. I just thought of those words this morning. Body works. If your body's working somehow, some way that you're still kicking, you're still breathing, you're still coming to Gita, you're still wanting to, live your dharma. That's another thing. Besides love, the other thing the Gita talks about is only you can do your dharma. Nobody else can do it. And even if it says in the Gita that even if you did someone else's dharma and walked in their shoes and you did it perfectly, it would still be better to do your own dharma, even if it was imperfect. So there's a dharma, meaning that there's a purpose, the sublime purpose that only you and I individually can fulfill in this life. So having said all that, my dears, we're gonna jump. Welcome, Denny. So glad to see you. Every time I don't see you, I think of you. So that's why absence makes the heart grow fonder. Hmm. So welcome, Denny, Lisa, and Jim. Thanks for coming on. The Ryan G. Definitely, absolutely, 100% consistent is Narayan, and yeah, in Minnesota. So thank you so much, my dears, for coming on. And we're going to start on page 1019. That's weird to say that. 1019, chapter 18. And we're going to be looking at verses 3 to 6. And we're just going to read them one after another because that's how it is here. And then Yogananda will give commentary to all of them when we get into the commentary section. All right. So don't have to think about it. No, the last thing we want you all to do is think about this. And instead, why don't you just know that there's a love affair going on between your heart and God's infinite love right now. Love Our Gita group cannot live without you all. I agree with you, Narayan G. Cannot live without you. That's why we're all here, my dears. My goodness sakes. It gets me every time. And we call this stream today. I'll read you a sample that's coming up, and just in case we don't get to that part, of the reading today that you hear about the I think the main focus for today's stream. The paragraph says self-disciplining actions of conquering the self-disciplining actions of conquering physical restlessness. Physical restlessness. You know, restlessness is our greatest enemy. Yep, restlessness. Because in that restlessness is all the desires for the things that ain't going to help us be doing our dharma and coming to Gita and all that. So self-disciplining actions of conquering physical restlessness. So we're all in for that. Practicing mental concentration. I think we're all in for that. And striving for ecstatic communion of the soul and spirit. Yeah. I wrote a song once and it goes, I'm not the body, I cannot die. I'm not the mind, I am changeless. I'm not the, what is that? I'm not the body, I cannot die. I'm not the mind, I am changeless. I'm not emotions, I cannot fear. I am the soul whom spirit holds dear. Spirit soul, spirit soul, spirit soul, spirit soul. If Brookie was on right now, and when we had workshops and she came to almost every one, just like she goes to fish concerts every one. She knows what she's up to, Brookie. Uh, she in the workshops that she came and I was leading, with that we came up with words that we saw that person as during that workshop, and she was rainbow, and I was spirit soul. So she knows all about that. So right here, Yogananda says that self-disciplining actions of conquering physical restlessness, practicing mental concentration, and striving for static communion of soul and spirit. There it is, spirit soul. And striving for a static communion of soul and spirit in meditation, we need to perform to train the body, mind, and soul away from identification with confining bodily pleasures. Yeah, that's the downside. If there's a downside of living a human life, is the all the cheap thrills of the human pleasures, right? Which doesn't necessarily give you the highest vibe. All right, let's put it that way. So you're free to do whatever you're going to do with anything, but just so the Gita is loud and clear this morning, that we need to train the body, mind, and soul away from the identification with confining bodily pleasures. And then this is our topic today. And making one's whole being a tabernacle of divine bliss. How's that? What would you rather have? A bauble? A cheap thrill, my dears, of the playthings of this world? Or would you rather have your whole being be a tabernacle of divine bliss? How's that? Oh, look at that. Look at that. You know, Brooke, you just came on and I told everyone about that you're rainbow to me and I'm spirit soul to you, and all the workshops that you did, that you did as many workshops as you do fish concerts. Anyway, and you jump online, you felt the energy. You felt it. Welcome, welcome, Brooke. We just talked about you. So I just was going ahead a little bit before I read these verses for today's um, Gita study, and they are these verses 3 to 6, and we're on page 1019. Can you believe this? What a journey this has been. Love you so much. Yeah, that's for sure, Brooke, and it's a major ditto. A major ditto. That goes to all of you. Love you so much. And then you could say, no, I love you more. And then I'll say, no, I love you more. And then we can go on and on like that. No, I love you more. And then no, you say, I love you more. And it's the truth, the whole truth. That's what love is, my dears. You want to, how about living the rest of your life in that kind of loving? Yeah, that kind of loving. It's a loving life, my dears, if you want it to be. It's a nightmare if you don't want it to be. All right? Yeah. So, verse 3, some philosophers say that all work should be forsaken as full of taint. Remember, we are on actually renunciation part 3. This has been all about renunciation, the sannyas and the tyaga. They're just similar, with two mints in one kind of thing. But renunciation is huge. It means everything we're kind of talking about right now, letting go of those things that make you miserable and focus on that which brings you light. Simple, right? Pure and simple. So but then the pundits will start arguing about, okay, well, which kind of renunciation should we do and this and that. So some philosophers say that all work should be forsaken as full of taint because God's the doer. Others declare that the activities of yajna, the holy fire rite, the sacred fire rite, and philanthropy and tapas or self-discipline ought to be abandoned. So that's an ongoing debate for the pundits, for those that need to have a debate in raw truth. I think in raw truth you don't need anything but the raw truth. So this is verse 4. Consequently, understand me, and this is Gita, this is Krishna talking. Consequently, understand from me the ultimate truth. There it is, the ultimate truth about renunciation. O best of the Bharatas, Arjuna, for renunciation has been spoken of as consisting of three kinds. O tiger among men. Krishna loved to call Arjuna these different things. And this one is, O tiger among men. And we could say, O tigress among women. That was verse 4. And verse 5, the action involved in yajna, or the sacred fire rite, and dana, philanthropy, and tapas, self-discipline, verily ought to be performed and should not be forsaken. For the holy fire rite, philanthropy, and self-discipline sanctify the wise. So I think this next verse 6 says this, but even these activities ought to be performed, O Partha, another name for Arjuna, forsaking attachment to them and the desire for their fruits. So even if you are well advanced and you got it all together, which we still I know have a little bit of ground to cover, and some light to uncover in our true nature, and love to be gotten more and more in our heart space, right? Even though we have all those things going on to what we would think is a pretty good spiritual life, we got to keep going. We got to keep going with these positive renunciations that Lord Krishna is going into depth with in this chapter 18, final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So that last verse here, verse 6, says that even these activities ought to be performed. All those ones. The holy fire rite, the philanthropy, the self-discipline, sanctify the wise. All these activities ought to be performed, O Partha Arjuna, forsaking attachment to them and the desire for their fruits. So, as further you go on the path, the longer you stay, kind of loyal and grooving with the Christ and the Krishna. A lot of dancing the Krishnas do. Yep. That we got to keep going. We can't rest on our laurels at all on the spiritual path. That's the point here. Because Krishna then says, this is my supreme, that keep going, my dears, forsaking attachment to them and desire for their fruits. No matter how great things are going and you think you got it made or whatever. No. He says, keep going. This is my supreme and sure conviction. And that's what we're all doing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here so early in the morning. I still get fooled on this day, Tuesday. I look up at the clock. It kind of shows the time on the roof, on the ceiling in my room, and I always kind of look at it and go, no, it's 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. And I think I got to get up for the 7 o'clock thing. I'm going, what? No, it's not 4 o'clock, is it? So this is Yogananda's commentary to these 4 verses that I just shared with you. I'm just so delighted to have Denny here and Ryan and Brooke and Lisa and Jim. I'm just so delighted. And we're going to see Mary and Alex pop on any minute now, too. I'm pretty sure. So naturally, this is Yogananda's commentary with all that we just said, which you don't have to think about at all. Just be loving, my dears. Just be happy that this is through osmosis that blessings are pouring into you right now. Just through osmosis, just because you showed up. Man, I mean, we could do the worst thing that we've ever done in this life thus far, and God would forgive us instantly if we showed up, if we came to Him and we just said, hey, I messed up. He said, no worries. I know. Let it go. Let's keep going. Let's keep loving. Right? So naturally, those yogis who are fully liberated and immersed in God can say that all actions belong to the domain of delusion. If you really realize, you can safely say that all actions belong to the domain of delusion and should be abandoned, keeping the soul in unbroken ecstasy with God, or in other words, staying in that tabernacle of divine bliss, right? If you have it, if you have the awakening, if you have the awareness, if you have that beautiful gift of all gifts to be awakened, to be a wide awake soul, of course you would want to stay unbroken in ecstasy with God rather than mess with the trifles and the cheap thrills and the baubles and all the fake news and the lies that this world keeps giving us because of the Divine Mother's delusion and Maya, right? So Yogananda says naturally those yogis who are liberated and immersed in God can say that all actions belong to the domain of delusion and should be abandoned, keeping the soul in unbroken ecstasy with God. Yeah, makes sense, right? In complete liberation or oneness with God or with spirit, spirit, soul, spirit, soul, spirit, soul, spirit, soul, I am the soul whom spirit holds dear. In complete liberation or oneness with spirit, all forms of action can be condemned. All forms of action, my dears. In our complete liberation or oneness with spirit, all forms of action can be condemned as delusive, for spirit in the unmanifested state is beyond all vibrations and hence beyond all actions. Do you know this thing called eternal bliss, ongoing, ever new eternal bliss? No, stop for a moment. Put your foot on the brakes just for a moment. Think of that. What is that? What is that? How can they say that? How can these great ones say that life is ever new? I mean, that reality, what we all are born for, what we live for, whether we know it or not, what we'll die for, what we'll give our heart to. Of course, I think we would all choose an eternity of bliss ever new. Never goes, it's never old. This is living on a planet like this, everything gets old quick. Yeah. Gets old really quick, doesn't it? And it's not sustainable usually. But how about it? Ongoing, ever new bliss for your eternity, my dears. There certainly won't be any action. There certainly won't be chores. There certainly won't be grinding your way, trying to survive on this earth plane of existence, right? You would be like, what? So think of that, my dears. Think of the goal. Keep your as it says in the Gita, banat manjai. Practicing, one day the divine goal. Banat, practicing, one day the divine goal. So the question then arises, Yogananda goes on to say, how can an ordinary mortal? So here's where he kind of gets a little more empathetic about us, just ordinary mortals, my dears. The question then arises, how can an ordinary mortal, by abandoning good, bad, and divine or meditative activities, realize this state of cosmic consciousness? How can a mortal, just a mere mortal, an ordinary mortal? So the question arises, this is Yogananda asking us to question this. How can an ordinary mortal, by abandoning good, bad, and divine or meditative activities, realize the state of cosmic consciousness of the actionless absolute? There he goes. Yogananda coming up with another phrase that just you won't find anywhere in the history of life. The cosmic consciousness. How in the world, my dears, can an ordinary mortal, by abandoning good, bad, and divine or meditative activities, realize the state of cosmic consciousness of the actionless absolute? All right. That's a pretty good question, isn't it? So it may get us a little interested in this next sentence. Theoretical philosophers who denounce all activities, and here's the kicker, without having attained the cosmic consciousness of God. So there can be theoretical philosophers who denounce all activities and say that they're all a delusion, without having, though, attained the cosmic consciousness of God. This is not going to happen very well for you, because if you just say it, but you're not really haven't qualified yet to have that kind of divine consciousness, right? But you go on saying that you're announcing all activity, you become a lazy bones probably. But what Yogananda says you become are harbingers of delusion and wrong advice. That's what you become, a harbinger of delusion and wrong advice. See, the truly wise say that activities connected with the holy fire ceremonies, those are good. And we need to keep going and keep going, keep on keeping on. We don't think that we may have anything made in the shade at all. Life is too tricky, right? This delusion is too strong. So we got to just kind of stay humble and yeah, surrendered, humbled and surrendered. Throw yourself on at the feet of Divine Mother and ask for divine mercy, right? That's a much better way to go. Throw yourself at the feet of Divine Mother and ask for divine mercy. Yeah, that's so much stronger than saying that you've got it all under, you have the realization and you really don't. The truly wise say that activities connected with the holy fire ceremonies, the offering of gifts, the philanthropy, and the tapas, the self-disciplinary practices, should not be abandoned by the yogi striving for liberation. Yeah. So we just keep on keeping on. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care what outcomes are. Remember, this whole thing of renunciation is don't care for the outcomes and the fruits of your actions, my dears. It's one of the biggest, biggest points in this Bhagavad Gita is not to be attached to the fruits of your labors, the fruits of your desires, the fruits and the baubles and all that. That we got to avoid those because they just can't satisfy. They can't make you happy. They make you miserable actually because your true nature is so much more beautiful, so much more lasting, so much purer, and gives you always that burst of joy and lightness and happiness and endless bliss, the tabernacle of divine bliss. How's that? Do you want to live in that? I do. So that the wise say that activities connected with holy fire ceremonies, any little ceremony you do, light a candle, whatever, and you can kind of put it by your altar, and you can have a field day offering some beautiful things, offering yourself back to the divine in the sacred fire ceremony, because they say these the truly wise say that activities connected with holy fire ceremonies, yajna, the offering of gifts, the theanthropy, and self disciplinary practices should not be abandoned by the yogi striving for liberation. And we are striving for liberation. The Lord has already warned that he who does not perform dutiful divine actions without desire for their fruits, he's already warned us that he who does not perform dutiful divine actions without desire for their fruits is not a true yogi or true renunciant. So I don't know if I get that. The Lord has already warned that he or she who does not perform dutiful divine actions, does not perform dutiful divine actions, who do not do the dutiful divine actions of not desiring the fruits, is not a true yogi or a true renunciate. Now I get it. The truly wise inculcate. The truly wise, and I would say Narayan, Lisa, Jim, Denny, Rookie, and we'll just say that Mary and Alex will watch the rerun of this. And Mary and Alex, the truly wise, that's us, inculcate the doctrine of performing the inner holy fire ceremony of casting material consciousness into the fire of inner wisdom. Yeah, that's a sacred fire ceremony. They do that with ghee and other things, but it represents the holy fire ceremony of casting our material consciousness, all our entitlements, all our mortal desires, all those the playthings that we still want and crave, and we don't really have a way to get rid of the habits, some of them as well, of cravings for things of this world. So that's a pretty important ceremony then, is to cast those kinds of desires or material consciousness into the fire of inner wisdom, my dears, which is what we're listening to right now. It's wisdom, the wise. We're the wise because we're listening to Gita wisdom right now. Good job. Good job. Plenty of blessings pouring in, my dears. Extra bonuses too for showing up in this very early hour on the West Coast. All right. So the truly wise inculcate the doctrine of performing the inner holy fire ceremony of casting our material garbage. Let's say I'm saying those words. Our material garbage consciousness into the fire of inner wisdom and the metaphysical fire ceremony. So there's a material consciousness that we throw into the sacred fire, and a metaphysical fire ceremony, which is what? The burning of mortal desires. All right, so there it is. One is a material consciousness, but you can say they're all the same. Material consciousness. And then Yogananda goes on to say, but listen, we're not done yet. Let's cast also, make a metaphysical fire ceremony, the burning of mortal desires in the cosmic perception of God. So one is being offered into the fire of inner wisdom. And another way you can go about it is the burning of mortal desires in the cosmic perception of God. In either case, it's just taking your consciousness to a higher level, right? To the divine level, as much as best as you understand the divine level. So the fire of inner wisdom and the metaphysical fire ceremony, the burning of mortal desires and the cosmic perception of God, or destroying material desires in the fire of divine longings. That's called transmutation, alchemy. The destroying of material desires in the fire of divine longing. The more that you want to be happy, the happier you'll become. And no one can make you unhappy. So the more that you long for these truths, my dears, the more all this stuff happens automatically. All these ceremonies, you don't have to remember them. You won't remember them probably, but you understand the concept maybe, and we can certainly have a desire, a desireless desire, meaning that we have a great desire for the longing for spiritual awareness and spiritual union and completeness and joy and happiness and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that does wonders. That does wonders. It's a fire called the fire of divine longings, my dears. These acts are symbolized in the external yajna of casting. Oh, this is the typical ceremony that they do. These acts, these ways of offering the offerings into the fire of wisdom or into divine longings, these acts are symbolized in the external yajna of casting. So there's an external ceremony that just reminds you of the inner ceremony of casting all that stuff into divine perception or into the sacred fire of wisdom. These acts are symbolized in the external ceremony, yajna, of casting clarified butter into the ceremonial fire. Clarified butter. A lot of ceremonies in India going down with the clarified butter, my dears. Yeah. Yeah. Even the Asaraf monks are still doing that. Yeah. Well, it's because it says here in the Gita, keep going. Keep going, no matter where you think you're at. Just keep going. And that is so beautiful to see you all here. That's why I'm saying that. So such men of wisdom and women of wisdom also declare. So we men of wisdom and women of wisdom here on this love line to the divine this morning declare that the act of giving gifts to the afflicted involves feeling for God as the one who is suffering. So there's ways to purify and do yajna or offerings in giving gifts to the afflicted, to the least of these, my brothers and sisters, says Christ. Those who do things for the least of my brethren and sisters, come unto me. So in this case, giving gifts to the afflicted involves feeling for God as the one who is suffering in others, and hence leads to liberation. So there's a lot of ways, my dears. There's a lot of ways. Can you feel it? You don't have to remember a thing of all this today. You can feel it though. You can energetically receive this information. It may even penetrate into your brain and stay there. And when you least expect it, you kind of bring this concept into your working zone, right, of how you understand it, and it may come to life. In fact, I promise you it will come to life if we keep on keeping on. Such men of wisdom also declare that the act of giving gifts to the afflicted involves feeling for God as the one who's suffering in others, and hence leads to liberation. The limiting selfish desire to obtain things for the little self must be replaced by the liberating, selfless desire to bestow gifts on the greater self. The God is the greater self, the God in everyone, everything, even that little puppy dog there. See her little face there? That's happy. That's happy go lucky. That's happy ever after. She's a Pyrenees doodle. Yeah, she's amazing. She's getting it. She's filling up this morning. So is my other one. So we will get to the title coming right up. Self-disciplining actions, as we are on 1020 now, page 1020, self-disciplining actions of conquering physical restlessness. Oh, I read this in the beginning. Yeah. Self-disciplining actions of conquering physical restlessness, practicing mental concentration, and striving for ecstatic communion of soul and spirit in meditation also should be performed to train body, mind, and soul away from the identification with confining bodily pleasures and to make one's whole being a tabernacle of divine bliss. I just think that's so beautiful. Even just holding that idea today as long as you possibly can, that you're making your whole being a tabernacle of divine bliss, our true reality, our true purpose, our true eyes on the prize, the end goal, the Alpha and the Omega, my dears, is that we all become a tabernacle of divine bliss. When the story is over, when my dream's dream is done, she will lift me on her lap, and we will be in the tabernacle of divine bliss with the Divine Mother, and with the Christ and the Krishna, and with other holy, beautiful things, and just on and on and on, ever new, ever new. So it's not like, oh, I'll experience this once and then pray that I get it again. No, that's just worldly thinking. No, we have it. We have it. It's our forever, my dears. This is why this is such a sublime practice that we have, and such a. Now I'm thinking, sitting here, it's raining here in Ashland. It's a kind of windy and cold, and you guys are where you are. You souls are where you are, and in this little tribe, in this little just group that gets together on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I think the blessings are handsome. They're plenty. They're good and plenty, my dears. So thank you for being here again today. So right after that, I might just read a little more, then I'm going to get ready for the next thing, which is the Sacred Soul Meditation, which some of you are very welcome to come on anytime you want. That's at 8. You get to sleep in. You're welcome. You're welcome, Rookie. You're welcome. So welcome, my dear. You really came on at an exquisite time. I have to say that it is all God's doing. It is all Divine Mother's doing, for sure. Can't make this stuff up. But even good and meditative actions must be performed without desire. Anything in life, whatever you're doing, don't desire a fruit of it. Don't want an outcome from it. Don't have an expectation for it. You're doing this for love. You've come down here on this planet to love until it hurts no more, my dears. Till the karma is wiped out and you hurt no more. And you desire no more of the things that will make you sad and unhappy and disappointed. So so even good and meditative actions must be performed without desire and without attachment to these activities and their fruits. If all soul, body, mind, Sorry. Without attachment, these activities and their fruits, if all soul binding effects are to be negated. So, I'll read that again. But even good and meditative actions must be performed without desire and without attachment to these activities and their fruits, if all soul binding effects are to be negated, which we do know that we want them negated because there's something more and more better. It's the happiest day of my life. And there's so much light coming to me. There's so much love beaming down on me. And there's more and more wonderful keeps a coming to me and to you. And there's more and more wonderful keeps a coming. It keeps coming to me and you. All right. I had a pin somewhere. Oh, let me grab it. Oh, I know where I'm leaving us off today, my dears. So, how does that sound? Is that a good stopping part? That we are just going to be just there's just eye on the prize, that we are just here and now. We just know that we're always doing some kind of offering back because there's so much delusion. But guess what? That makes a good offering. You know, they're like logs that you put on a sacred fire, right? The logs of our delusion, the logs of our earthly nightmares and disappointments and broken hearts and struggle with illness, all of that makes for a, a big log, a burning log of your longings, let's say, and it burns and it burns and it burns. So, there's a blessing to be living into a serious delusion that we're in, my dears, because it makes for constant offerings. And then, but don't, it's not always bad things. Just think that everything is an offering because everything is God in drag and disguise, right? So either way you look at it, my dears, offering and renunciation of what this so-called outer world has to offer us, don't get fooled. Don't get fooled. No, this is why you come to Gita, not to be fooled. Yeah, that means there's other things in your life where you are doing have beautiful consciousness on, have beautiful thoughts about, and you keep coming back to the goodness of who you really are and the power that your soul possesses. I can go on and on celebrating you right now. So, my dears, thank you so much for coming on this Gita line this morning. I hope it was uh, well, I'm not even going to hope. I'm just sure that whatever it is that we needed to have and experience, we got. All right, all of us, and then some, and even the blessings for the world. So thank you. Thank you so much, Narayan, Lisa, Jim, Danny, Brooke. And if Mary and Alex hear this, we have you here. We have you here. Aho. Namaste. Much love and light, my dears.